And good evening and welcome to the KASS Spotlight. My name is Levi Kones. Tonight we're discussing matters political and talking about the state of our nation and where we are as a people, especially in this current government led by the Jubilee Group. With me is Mr. Bigambo. He is a consultant from Interthoughts Consulting. He's also a lecturer from the Moi University, and we are going to be discussing about where we are politically at this stage. Karibu sana. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much.
And welcome to KASS.
Asante.
Let's start from a general scorecard. It's been about going into 2 years since the Jubilee government took power. How would you rate us?
I would give the Jubilee government 4 out of 10.
Wow.
4 out of 10, and this 4 being at least a moderate 4, not a very strong 4. Because so far, they have spent the past 1.5 years laying the necessary foundations and putting in place the right instruments of execution of their mandate and their duties to see how they can have the entire Jubilee manifesto rolling out. And the thing is, policy-wise and in terms of sustaining the confidence of the people, in terms of trying to woo investors into the country, they have tried to do well. Much more is anticipated. But when it comes to practically executing the letter, word, and spirit of the Jubilee manifesto, then much is yet to be achieved. Well, we can give them the requisite understanding, benefit of understanding because of only the 1.5 years that has been spent in office. But you see, thing is, for how long will people give you that benefit of the doubt?
So you're saying the honeymoon is over?
It was over about three months, after getting into office. In any case, in politics, there's no honeymoon. In fact, in politics, it's only the moon because it's riding roughshod throughout. And thing is this, look at not the promises that were made on the campaign trail, but the promises that have been captured in the documents of history that the Jubilee Manifesto is. What have they delivered on? A few things they have tried to deliver on. Significant things, actually economic turnaround things, are still left unimplemented. Well, policy-wise, we've been, told by the government that so much is going on, whether it's matters to do with the infrastructure, the standard gauge railway, and all that, whether it's to do with the education sector. You remember matters to do with IT and the laptop for every child.
Yeah, and the Eurobonds.
The Eurobonds and whatnot. All these things still loosely tethered in the manifesto. But at least the confidence that the foreigners and the kind of direct foreign investment that this government has been able to at least attract to a considerable extent is impressive. Also look at President Kenyatta. When you look at the presidential history of this country, he is the first president who in 1.5 years in office has made the highest number of international or foreign trips. No other president has done that in such a short span of time.
True.
And you can see that he has got a willingness to interlink Kenya across the region and internationally.
Yeah, but let me ask though, just to pose you there, Kidogo. With this 4 out of 10, what do you think are the things that you would say have been their greatest undoing?
Now, thing is, first of all, it was anticipated, according to their promise. Their word was their bond at the time, that the moment they get into office, we will see a difference in the education sector, embracing information technology. Now, the issue of laptop for children, remains a story, at the marketplace.
But did we really expect that? I think...
The thing is this. They promised, they made believe. Well, I know it was political poetry. And now that they're governing in prose, they realize that at times courtship is different from the marriage itself. And now the challenges of marriage that they realize, when you look at the economy, the country as it is, what needs to be sustained, and the new things that need to be introduced, the cost of even having had that laptop project kick off in their first year in office actually would have been a tall order. They should have had this a first project spread through the 4 or 5 years in office. So that first year it's a question of doing a critical survey, then policy frameworks, necessary legislation, and then roll out maybe the 3rd or 4th year. Or 5th year.
So the laptops X.
Look at the standard gauge railway. Now, by way of comparison, and when you use a keen eye to look at politics comparatively across the region, look at what Ethiopia has done with this, with their railway network. In fact, they are way ahead of Kenya. Kenya launched it first. Kenya still is stuck in the mud of the politics of our time.
Yeah, but we had issues with people and land and where the railway would pass and compensations.
The greatest challenge,
and then guys have gone to court.
Very true.
So you know, they would say that they are fighting a battle against Kenyans themselves, even in trying to bring development.
Very true. The challenge is the administrative and political issues surrounding the entire project. The president should not have, illustriously launched the project as he did, if at all these bottlenecks were there. They should have thought through. The government should have thought through, looked at and handled all these things so that the moment the project is launched, it starts rolling. Because from the look of things, by the time all these compensations are done and the court cases and appeals and all that, maybe even the first term of the administration will be over. And then you promise it again in the second term. Now you see, perpetual promises don't work in politics, because people get to use their third eye to look at your next promise and on what it's hinged.
But they would say that people at least are seeing that they have begun to do something. If you promise and then you're not doing anything, as opposed to if you're promising and your foot is ready,
when you are the president of the republic, when you are the government of the day, you've got all the power, the machinery, you've got an understanding and all the information and the data about revenue and everything else, then you are best blessed. In fact, what people don't know is that the word of the government or the president should never actually be doubted, because of the benefit of data and statistics, factual information that the president has at his desk. Which means that when the president says this is going to happen, actually it should happen. But you see, when the president or the deputy says this is going to happen and then it doesn't happen, then it becomes a gimmick.
So we have laptops, we've got lap sets.
Yes, that is, those are two. The other thing, look at devolved government. Well, while this is not necessarily something that is placed upon the shoulders of the Jubilee administration, but fact being that it is the administration that came into place when devolved government was rolling out, political goodwill at the national level is very necessary for making devolved government a success. And we can see that hitherto, there are lots of challenges that are being experienced. From Makueni, you look at Narok.
But somebody would say that this has nothing to do with national government, that there are individuals who are seated in gubernatorial positions who are just causing chaos. And the MCAs, you have county assembly members who they want, if it was one thing after another, they wanted increase of pay the moment they came in. They gave us a whole list of things that they wanted to go up on their salaries. Then they wanted loans for cars, in which they even held the president ransom in Mombasa, if you can remember. Then they have also, now they want bodyguards. Some of them even want allowances for their wives. Surely, we are dealing with the difficult people here. So
the national government cannot be off the hook when it comes to the challenges of devolution. Now look, when purportedly or as alleged that the president was held at ransom at the coast by the MCAs was a gun placed to his head to make the promises that he did.
You could say so because, you know, MCAs can go around just impeaching every single governor and keep us in a perpetual state of election after election after election. So far, they have realized the powers that they have at hand. And that is what is being misused in this
Look at the structures that we have.
county government.
The County Government Act. Look at the Constitution of Kenya. Look at the organs that are there to try and solve all these issues. Look at, for instance, the summit. Look at IBEC. All these frameworks, all these institutions that are enabled by the law are instruments that need to be used to see how to make smooth the rough roads in the rolling out of devolved government. Of course, it is anticipated. Kenya is not the only the first country in the world to have devolved government. Go down to South Africa with their pseudo-federal system. Go to Nigeria. Look at even Ethiopia. Look at even the joke that devolution is or decentralization is in Uganda. And all this, Kenya has just come in. Of course, much
what
of
I'm
the
trying to find out
hours
for you is what is this that the president can do or the national government can do that they're not doing in terms of devolved government? Because if it is money, they were given money. Some of them even returned some of the money that they got, you know, at the end of the financial year. What is it they can do more? Because they say as a government, they're not against devolution. And they have tried to, you know, give a roadmap and give as much support to devolution as they can. So
the thing is this. I think the entire government, the two levels of government, need to think through how best to converge their interests and foster political goodwill that would make devolution work for the betterment of this country. Look at the Constitution of Kenya and you realize that actually devolved government is the backbone of this constitution. And it must be sustained. It is here to stay. The Senate, the National Assembly, all these organs and the national government, they need to come up with a framework that will see how to cut off some of the challenges that have been existing. For example, look at the legislative cat and mouse games between the National Assembly and the Senate. To the extent of even one taking the other to court or trying to reverse what has been done.
yeah, but what I'm saying is,
the president.
Javas, what I'm saying is, the executive will say, that's not our problem. We're not a part of that. We've given the necessary, it's like we have given all the necessary tools to tumewapatia kila kitu mpike. Now you're fighting in the kitchen.
Now, and that's where,
you know,
if you look at even the summit itself, the deputy president even being there, these are institutions that reason needs to prevail. And the president of Kenya is the president of everybody. He oversees everything. He can speak to the hearts and minds of every leader and every citizen to demonstrate that wisdom, statesmanship, and knowledge and respect that is vested in that office without playing politics.
So what you're basically saying is he hasn't offered the right leadership in matters devolution.
I know that the president has had maybe his plate full with the millstone around his neck that's been, but now it's been lifted off. I think time has come that the president needs to put his foot down and be the president of Kenya and lead this country through delivery of the promises that he made as the head of the Jubilee coalition.
You've spoken about the millstone. Do you think the ICC has preoccupied him for the last 2 years?
Well, no, but the ICC has been a very perfect red herring, a very convenient excuse for anything for the president and the deputy president. Because look at it this way. Even the deputy president has been allowed to be in the country as opposed to be at the Hague full time so as to discharge his constitutional duties. They've been given that room. Much as I know that the issue of the ICC would incessantly hang on their mental skies because it is something that is ongoing. But like for the president now, he's off the hook, at least as for now. Thing is this, they still have They've had the time, the opportunity, they've had the team and the staff. They've got all the structures to implement, to execute their duties and responsibilities. There should not be any excuse as to why you cannot be the best president or the best deputy president of your time.
So maybe the presidency is just starting.
Well,
given the fact that the ICC was just lifted the other day.
As long as Kenyans know, insofar as the Constitution of Kenya is concerned, President Kenyatta took office upon declaration as president and when he was sworn in, which is more than a year and a half ago. He has been the president, and historians have captured it already. So there is no excuse. Much as we know that, as it was said, it was a personal challenge. But we know very well that that personal challenge has been a government's challenge. That personal challenge has been a community's challenge.
It became an AU challenge even.
Yes. Because even right now, for the case of the deputy president, his personal challenge is his community's challenge. It is the AU's challenge. It is the region's challenge. And this challenge has even given good breath and air and life to the spirit of Pan-Africanism. So it's been a mixed bag of blessings and woes that have not worked best for us. You know? And look at it this way, that you are bedeviled by the challenges of the ICC, and then the kind of challenges that this country is presently facing in the insecurity and all that, because that is now becoming a thorn in the flesh of the Jubilee government. Putting the security docket in order is essential. It is one of possibly or potentially the determinants of not just the legacy, but even critical things that may be on the menu as Kenya moves possibly into the 2017 election.
You've gone into security, and I think I had a feeling it was going to come up at some point. Do you think right now that given the decisions that the president has made to nominate Kaiseri, and of course to have Kimayo step down, whether he had him step down or he stepped down on his own is a whole other matter, but the fact that the two have gone, does that change the face of the security battles that we are facing?
Like they say elsewhere, if you put lipstick on a pig, it remains a pig. It doesn't change the animal. It is beyond the changing of Kimayo and Mr. Lenku to change the issues within the security sector. Now, it's been a smart political card that the president has played, especially when it comes to the cabinet secretary for interior coordination. Of course, having replaced Joseph with Joseph, but...
No, I want to pause you right there. We'll come back to the Joseph with Joseph replacement and the Masai with the Masai, and maybe you let us know exactly what your thoughts are going on. We'll take a break at that moment, and we'll just hear from our sponsors, and then we'll be right back. This is the KASS Spotlight. Don't touch that dial. We'll be right back. Tuko poa?